Today we're going to talk about how to start journaling. Welcome back. Today I'm in this really cool location I found in the woods. It looks like there's a bunch of abandoned city pipes. Got this cool overgrown post-apocalyptic vibe in here. So what better spot? Although I'm getting eaten alive, so I apologize if I keep slapping my legs or face. I recognize a lot of these videos where I'm talking about writing and journaling. A lot of you are probably interested in starting but haven't done it yet, and so we're going to talk about how to get started with writing and journaling. First thing, right? Obviously you need a notebook and a pen or pencil. So go buy yourself something cheap, and if you're just starting out and you just want to give it a try, then it's a small investment. And that's one of the first points I want to make here, is how fantastic of an investment journaling is, because it costs so little. There's such small barrier for entry. Really the only thing that you need that's more important than money is time. And if you can set aside that time, you're going to get some really great returns. So how to start journaling? I think when you first open up your journal and you want to put your pen to paper and you're sitting there thinking about what you should write, I'm going to give you a technique for how to get past that block. And what this is called morning pages, although it can be applied to any time of the day. It doesn't have to be morning. I've used it in the morning in the past to kind of get my brain warmed up, get the day going, get the creative juices flowing. And morning pages is as simple as this. Write whatever comes to mind. Even if it's just the word nothing, just write nothing. Nothing, 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 nothing. Write it as many times as you have to until something else comes into your mind. Maybe it's the color green or trees or abandoned city materials. I don't know. Whatever comes into your mind, just write it. And the idea here is that by doing this, you're loosening your grip on your own mind, and eventually you kind of fall into this flow state where you just keep writing stuff. Your biggest problem in the beginning is probably going to be that you want to have a perfect journal. And what I mean by this is, whatever your idea of perfect writing is or aesthetic to do with your journal, you got to get rid of that. You got to abandon whatever aesthetic you think you need to create within your journal. That's not what this is for. If you want to do that, I think maybe like a blog or something would be really great. A journal can be a messy place, but it's a safe place. So remember that. You're not writing in this journal to be performative. You're writing in it to break down that performance, get rid of that performance, and ultimately lead yourself back to who you are. And that's a long journey, a long process. I don't know if that ever ends, right? But the longer you stay on it and you're on that path, the more progress you'll make in that regard. And so morning pages is really good to unblock the blockages in your mind, the barricades holding you back from getting into that flow state. Anybody can write. All of us are writers. If you have a mind and you think and you're able to write, then write. You don't have to do this pen to paper. You can do it with your computer or your phone. But I recommend doing it pen to paper if you can, because the process of writing out your thoughts, something magical happens in that space where when pen touches paper and your thoughts kind of bleed through the ink, they dissolve from your head faster. So your brain has to focus more on the task at hand. If you're on your phone, you're going to be tempted to go on a different app. If you're on your computer, same idea. You're going to end up going somewhere else unless you've got some really strong discipline. When you touch pen to paper, you have to think about what you're writing. And so your brain is doing a number of things at once. And that's one of the powers of writing. I've heard that it's really good for, as you age, making sure your mind stays sharp. Journaling is really strong for that. Once you're done morning pages, or you're somebody who just wants to try something different, what I would invite you to do is write down your problems and write down the things in your life that you're enjoying, and kind of create a list of both of those things. So one of the things that I might put is, I've really been enjoying making YouTube videos about journaling. Okay, so I would write that down. And then I would ask myself, what is it about that particular thing that I'm enjoying? How is it that I can put more of that into my life? What feelings are surfacing as I'm doing this? Where do I think I can take it in the future? Am I doing it purely for enjoyment? Or is it something that I'm trying to turn into a business or a career, right? Take your list and use those as talking points, prompts for writing. You never know what prompt is going to actually send you down a long journaling session, right? Because what happens is when you begin to write, thoughts start popping up into your mind. And as they do so, you're going to write them down. There is no wrong way to journal. You can sit there and write one word over and over and over again. And to me, that's making progress, because at least you showed up. At least you put pen to paper. There is no wrong way to do this. And so the more that you do it, though, the easier it's going to be for you to get out of your own way and start really benefiting from the power of journaling. If you're a routine person, pick a time of day that works for you. Maybe it's in the morning, maybe it's in the evening after your day. You debrief your day on paper. I used to do that all the time. I thought it was a very helpful tool, especially on particularly stressful days or days that you want to like solidify in your mind. Like if you had a really beautiful day, go and write about it, because what I think happens when you write about something beautiful is that you start to absorb more of that beauty in your everyday life. You look for it more. It seems to find its way to you. It's a bit of a manifestation tool. So we got morning pages and we got lists. Another way to start journaling is your memories. Start journaling your memories. And it's really important that if something happens in your life today that you're really excited about or you think it's worth jotting down, write about it. Because in a few years from now, that memory is going to be as strong as it was when it happened. There's something about writing that just sort of like, it just fossilizes your memories in such a way that they're fresh, they're embedded in you. And when you don't do that, you sort of just forget about stuff, right? Like all of the little memories that occur, or little times you run into friends out in public or have a really great dinner with your family. Those, because they happen so often, I think they just sort of get merged into one large memory or feeling, like nostalgia as a kid, right? But when you write it down, you're actually giving your brain the specifics. So later on, when you go and visit again, you'll have an exact memory to that moment. That has a lot of power in it in terms of exercising your memory skills, but also romanticizing your life and making sure that these are things worth writing down and I want to keep them in my memory forever. And so journals are like that. And I think that's more of the traditional idea of a journal, is like a diary, right? Like, dear diary, this is what happened today. You can use that method if you want, if that works for you. But I think for a lot of people, you know, particularly men, journaling has a bad rap for being like something that women do or girls do. Get rid of that, man. Get rid of that mindset. It's 2026. You know, if you're still caught up in what you think the things you're doing says about you or determines your character, then journaling is for you, because it's who you are as a person that defines who you are. And journaling can only foster that. It can only enhance that and give you that sort of growth that you're looking for. So if you're like, you know, journaling isn't for me because of X, Y, and Z, journaling's for everybody. Journaling's for everybody. You just got to give it a go. And you turn it into something that makes sense for you. You don't journal in the way that you dislike. You discover your own method of journaling. You give it your own voice. It becomes your own space. It's like, it's this fine-tuned to your specific personality, goals, aspirations tool that we get to use. And why not use that? You know, especially in today's age and where everybody seemingly is trying to be the same person, journaling can help you remember who you are. And everybody else is taken, just be you, right? And so going back to the method here, how you can start journaling is writing down stuff that's obvious to you, but not obvious to other people. Like I remember being in high school and not raising my hand because I thought everyone knew the answer. And then later in life, I found out that things that are occurring to me in my mind are unique to me. So write about everything that happens or all the ideas that you get, even if they're stupid, because the initial thing here is you're trying to plant the habit. It's like working out. The more you show up, the easier it gets to do the thing. And the more you're going to look forward to it and actually start to need it and rely on it as a source of therapy in a way. Still go to therapy, but also journaling. So yeah, man, just don't judge yourself for doing it and get out of your own way just by writing about whatever. Like, pick a prompt. You know, there's a billion prompts out there, and If that's not doing it for you, you can use it for self-growth and for self-development. I think all of this falls under that umbrella, but specifically, you can really start to hone in on this stuff. And what you do and how you get started with that, right, is you open up your journal and you say, I'm setting the intention to get better at this thing, or to move past this thing, or to process this emotion, or to develop this skill. When you set the intention pen to paper, it just locks it in your mind. So now it's present in your mind. Not like you make a promise to yourself and then that promise just disappears. This is now rooted in your mind because you wrote it down on paper in your journal. It's going to be more present in your day-to-day consciousness. So this is why it's so powerful in relation to self-growth. It's a way to not forget the promises you're making to yourself on a daily basis. And this is something that I've struggled with. I got to do this, I got to do that, I want to be this, I want to be that. Well, all of that just falls to the wayside if there's no actual commitment to it. And journaling is a first step, regardless of what it is. I want to get better at cooking. I'm setting the intention to practice my cooking skills. I'm going to look up these things. And then you report back. Here are the things that I learned about cooking. I think these will help me for these reasons. You're always reporting back to the journal. And so treat it as that space. Treat it as a progress tracker for whatever you're trying to achieve in your life. I want to become a better filmmaker. I'm going to study these things. I'm going to study composition and lighting and interview skills. And I'm going to study how to be a better script writer, how to refine my ideas. And you study in the journal too. This is also a place to take notes. Like, my journal is everything. It's just a mess of my thoughts, but that's the point, because the mess now exists on paper and not in your mind. And that's got to be one of the biggest benefits here, is that you get it out on paper, and it's a mess on paper, because then you have an opportunity to organize your mind. So you've written down something that you want to get better at. You're setting the intention to get better at it. That's a totally viable way to use your journal. Just remember to always report back on what you're learning, and you're reflecting back on previous pages. Okay, this is what I did here. Because once you do that, it's easier to identify a way forward once you do that. You can also set the intention to have a good day or to improve a situation in your life. Use the journal to process through all that stuff. It's so good for that. You can empty your mind and then have a chance to refill it with some better stuff, brighter stuff. So we have morning pages to get you going. We got lists, things that you like in your life, things that you don't, and using those as writing prompts. And then we got setting intentions. And setting intentions, man, you're going to be doing that until the day you die if you keep up with journaling. Because that's the gold here, right? Setting your intentions, because that's the seed of making it a reality. I'm setting the intention to achieve this great thing in my life. That's actually a step toward it. Whereas if it just stayed in your head, you're not taking active steps toward it. And once you take one step, you're way more compelled to take another one. It's just how it works. Those are 3 solid tips on how to start journaling. Remember, guys, journaling can be anything and everything. Don't get bogged down in it has to be aesthetic, it has to be this, it has to be that. You don't need it to be anything other than what makes sense to you. For me, it's been a place where I just word vomit, And over time, I've found out different practices. I can use it for different things. And it has some of my best ideas, my best thoughts, my best memories. My journals are so precious because of that. And it really changes the way that your mind works. And I think that if you're able to reflect on how your mind works and you're unhappy, or you decide that you want to be better in a certain area, this is where journaling becomes so powerful, more than just a tracker, for your daily life, or documentation or an archive for your daily life. It becomes a tool to help you shape how you go through your life, how you interact with the world through your mind. Like, you really do get to have some choice in how all of that shakes down. And journaling is the first step to all of it. Try it out. Try some writing. Report back to me. Tell me how you made out. Write about this video. If nothing else, write about what you heard in this video. Hum and haw on it. Chew on it. Food for thought, right? Nate said this in that video. Here's what I think about what Nate said. I think he's full of it. I think he's lying about what this journal thing is. I don't think it's that deep, bro. Okay, write about that then. I don't care. Just use the journal as a space for you to get your thoughts out on a paper, make that a practice, and then see where it takes you. Cheers.